Let's see, Corey has tagged me in something. What could it be? Good old YouTube and their absolutely broken copyright strike free real estate. Okay, it's no surprise considering who he's talking about here, because this guy is just as dickless as someone else you all know in the Pokemon community when it comes to parodies, memes, and hell, criticisms of any kind with those individuals. And as much word that gets spread around naturally about all of the woes of YouTube, well, it is literally copyright free real estate, and that as well should not be surprising. I'll put it like this: if winning the lottery was as easy as getting a copyright strike on YouTube, literally everyone and everything on this planet would never ever have any kind of financial distress until the end of time. Oh wow, this looks so fucking familiar. Oh yeah, that's right, because this is the very thing I talked about in my very first video on this channel. Now, for those of you that have been with me, let's say for quite some time now, you already know what happened to me prior to this channel, and I went into great detail in this particular video. But before I get into any of that, Corey explains exactly why he got the copyright strike, and I guess the only silver lining he has concerning this is that it expires on April 7th of this year, and they even have this copyright school bullshit where they hold you by the hand and essentially say, make sure you don't do that again, little Jimmy. Oh Susan, what the fuck are you brainless fuckwits doing to this site? And unfortunately, because he had the video taken down, we don't even have any context here. Yes, you literally have to dox yourself to begin with before you even fill out the form to contest the copyright strikes you receive. Now this all boils down to fair use. This brings me back to March of last year. Understanding fair use. These sentences literally explain how extremely flawed not only fair use is, but YouTube deliberately turning a blind eye to even honoring how it's supposed to work when it is flawed in and of itself. Fair use is like a tranquilizer gun that allows you to stroll up the front walk onto the porch without getting bitten, because it allows you to make very limited use of the estate, copyrighted property, without being eaten as a trespasser, infringer. Keep in mind though that the dogs and ogres are still there, and they will bite if you don't pay attention. Stick to the front walk and porch and keep that dart gun loaded. Now they say fair use applies to any copyrighted property, but of course it's never that simple. Ladies and gents, this is why having a black and white mentality will get your ass burned. There's always so many bits and pieces, convoluted, vague, along with mental gymnastics, weasel words. You get the idea when it comes to shit like this. That's why you take things with a grain of salt, right? When it comes to the understanding of fair use, you need to ultimately remember 4 integral things when it comes to understanding how this law really works and defending your case. The purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount of substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole, and the effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. Once again, just like I did in this video, I will provide a link to this document because I don't feel like being here all day explaining how these 4 nuggets work, but I'll sum them up with this sentence. Those 4 focal points when it comes to concerning fair use are a balancing test, which means none of them, however strongly one may lean in your favor, ever controls the end result. So what does this all mean? They ultimately boil down to this: these guidelines are not intended as a blanket assertion that you can do this and avoid all problems. They're conservative, but no set of guidelines on fair use could prevent all possible conflicts. Now YouTube has this thing that if you use anyone's audio without their permission, and this is especially targeted more than anything, trust me, I know, if someone wants to copyright strike you, you can consider yourself stricken, because that's how easy it is. There's no manual review. No one actually looks at anything. You're lucky to get a response. No, all they want to do is honor their so-called understanding and deliberate dismissal of how fair use and copyright laws work. It's literally much easier that way. All they're gonna see is, ironically, the black and white aspect of it. You're using something that doesn't belong to you, and even if you get permission, the fact that you're still using something that doesn't belong to you will still get you stung. YouTube's understanding of how these laws work is literally the equivalent of them believing that the earth is flat, because they look up at the sky and that's all the conviction they need. They don't want to concern themselves with all of these weasel words. This balancing test And then at the end of the day, you're putting yourself out there to deal with all this bullshit when they only want to understand things at the most remedial black and white level. So to make a long story short, yes, anyone that has their work used with or without their permission because it's being used by someone else can get a copyright strike. That's why it's free real estate on YouTube. They don't care to manually review anything. That's not to say it won't work, but when you look at this document, you try to piece together countless pieces to this convoluted jigsaw puzzle. You want to just use things according to fair use, but then you have to worry about taking a balancing test not in your favor. Why bother? Ooh, how delicate is the meme? How delicate is the parody of the copyrighted work? What is your purpose for using work that is copyrighted? How substantial is it? What effect could it have on a potential, not even a guarantee, but a potential market? And at the end of the day, they just ultimately want you to feel bad for stealing someone else's work, but then the copyright and fair use laws are there just to give you those convoluted red herrings to tell you that you have a right to use things that aren't your own, but you really don't. Can I use it? Is this piece okay? What happens if I change it this way? Will I still get stung? So for all you content creators out there, I honestly don't know how you do it. I'm talking about the ones that monetize their videos. This is quite frankly way too much bullshit for me to keep up with if I even have time to put out anything when it's nothing special at that. And that's why I'm able to have fun with my channel without worrying about all of this broken, pessimistic, and deceitful bullshit. To put it to you guys in even simpler terms, I didn't know I amassed 3 copyright claims, and I even got one on the video I made yesterday. The funny thing about these is that they are content ID claims, not copyright strikes. All it's saying is that I cannot monetize these videos. Go figure. And that's because I happen to use audio from other videos and music. Audio, ladies and gents, that's a big key here. That wasn't my own. I didn't even get a fucking notification. And in these videos, I got burned because I used crab rave in them. So yeah, whether you give people credit or not, whether you get their permission or not, just don't even bother with this fucking nonsense with YouTube and the so-called fair use laws, copyright laws, whatever. All of that bullshit is nothing more than a convoluted red herring, weasel words, deceit, etc., designed to fuck you over no matter what you do. And all you want to do is just make content. Even for me, I get monetization taken away from my non-monetized content. So yeah, that's just how it is. I just miss the days when YouTube worked a bit more. You put out content and you didn't have to worry about pissing someone off, because YouTube back then didn't treat you like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers combined into a next-gen fucking love child for naturally using audio from other sources that aren't your own. But I also remember when the homepage didn't feed me a bunch of bullshit I never asked for in my recommended feed. But that's just one of many sad chapters of YouTube. And now you see the equivalent of Twitch banning the word simp and whatever the fuck they did with Pog. So good luck, Corey. Fuck you, Susan, and the rest of those shit for brains, desk jockeys, soccer moms, and cuck dads. And ladies and gents, don't quit your day jobs.